G'day guys, I've just done a complete suspension install on my WRX STI, and today I'm here to tell you about the experience, how it feels to drive, and the install process. So hopefully you find this helpful, and let's jump right into it. My name's Ben and welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my MCA Red Series Coilover suspension, as well as a heap of Whiteline parts. I've fitted adjustable control arms, 22mm rear sway bars, and adjustable end links there as well. And I've done all of this install on my own. Not everything's gone to plan, but overall, by the time we got to the end, everything was done correctly and the car is driving absolutely awesome. So if you're not in Australia, you might not have heard of MCA suspension, but down here in Australia, MCA is quite a popular brand. And one of the main things that kind of attracted me to buying the Red Series suspension was the fact that they offer adjustable custom tuning to your requirements when you purchase the Red Series. And for me, that was really important for making sure this car feels really comfortable on local roads, particularly mountain roads, which are often quite bumpy. So the requirements that I gave MCA to tune by was I needed a 30% daily driver, 30% kind of street performance car, 30% mountain driver, and 10% track day stuff, just in case I decide to go down that path later. And once you receive the box a few months later, once you open it up, you'll get like a kind of brochure that tells you how they've kind of tuned your car and the requirements and recommendations that they have. And actually in the end, after mucking around with a few different settings like dampening and things like that, I've pretty much stuck with their recommendations. The only one that I kind of haven't quite followed, which I feel like most people don't, is their ride height recommendation. So I have gone a little bit lower than what they recommend. Now, if you're doing all of your research on fitting coilovers to your WRX, you'll probably come across people saying that the rear control arms don't have any camber adjustment. And that is certainly true. So like I said, I kind of went into this with a do it once, do it right approach, and ended up fitting a whole heap of Whiteline gear to my car at exactly the same time. Now the control arms I really got just to add that camber adjustment too, but the main thing that's really going to add to the performance here for general driving is the rear sway bar that I fitted. And I ended up going pretty mild, I guess, and just fitting a 22mm sway bar to the rear of the car. The front sway bar is still stock standard. And with the current ride height that I've set, which you'll see later, it's a very sensible height. It's driving great, much less body roll, much less understeer with the help of the rear sway bars as well there. And overall, I am feeling much happier, much more confident, and probably quicker in the corners, which is really, really good. So if you're finding this helpful, guys, please think about liking and subscribing to the channel. It is greatly appreciated. And jump into that written description too, because I provided a bit more details there and all the products that I fitted to the car too, in case you're interested. So I did have plans to do a more comprehensive install video, but in the end, a few things did go wrong, and then I focused on fixing those problems, which were all minor for the record, and then kind of taking video was kind of a secondary objective. So in the end, here's what I've done. I've put together a little bit of a montage of the entire install process because the cameras were rolling most of the time. But if you do watch this and you spot something that's not quite making sense, please ignore that. I have already gone and fixed all of that, and we're all completely good. Alright, so we've got the sway bar already test set up. I've got this loosely attached. The bushings on are greased, so this should just be easy to bolt up, even though it'd be quite difficult doing it on my own. I've also got over here new control arms as well. So we'll be replacing the factory arms with this. So I also need to put in some effort to set this up. Here we go. That's about right. That's a little. Alright, time to do the height adjustment. Just done a caliper measurement here of 55.7 millimeters. So we're going to lower that down because it's very high at the front. So I hope you found that install video helpful somewhat, at least anyway, and as I said, pretty much everything went to plan, and the hardest part for me was definitely the rear suspension of the car. The rears, you know, with the rear sway bars, the adjustable control arms, the end links did take a lot longer to install, and you know, you really needed a second pair of hands to help, and in the end I caved and asked someone to come help me. So if you notice in the install, the MCA suspension has a couple of unique things about it, which I kind of thought I'd talk about. And the first one is that they have camber adjustment washers rather than kind of utilizing the OEM camber adjustment bolt. So you throw that one in the bin when you do this install. And the main thing there is MCA provide you a series of different washers that you fix onto your coilover suspension, ranging from 0 to kind of 2 degrees in camber. And once you fit them on, obviously, then that is kind of permanently locked in place rather than kind of relying on the unreliability of a bolt to hold everything in place. Now, the only interesting thing there is you need to kind of fit this like little metal cylinder inside your camber bolt slot on your car, just to make sure that the new bolt kind of fills in that space that the camber bolt would have originally taken up. And the other unique thing for MCA is their height adjustment. Now, for these coilovers, you do all of the height adjustment on the top of the suspension, and you do not touch the bottom except for unique circumstances and things like that. So it's actually a really, really easy thing to adjust. You literally just, you know, loosen it with the Allen key and twist, and you're done. Really, really, really easy height adjustment on the coilover suspension. So I originally fitted the coilovers at the original height that they came with. I worried about height adjustment at the very end, and there was a hefty rake on the front of the car with the original factory height from MCA. So in the end, I really did need to bring the front down quite a lot. I think I lowered it by about 20 mil or something like that. And I only needed to adjust the rears just a little bit before letting them settle in. Now, one last thing I just thought I'd mention on the install process too that you don't see in that video is that I've gone and made sure that every nut and bolt has been torqued to factory specs. And that's something that I'd really, really, really encourage you to do. So I thought I'd call out a couple of dumb things that I did during the install process for you to keep in mind if you're kind of doing it yourself. And the first one is make sure you put the rear sway bar in the right way. There is an up and a down, so make sure you get it right. Another one that I wanted to call out was to make sure that you fit the rear suspension before you bolt up the new rear control arm. I had left that till the end because I needed a second pair of hands to help. And that was actually the worst decision because I had to unbolt everything again. And the last one is around the rear suspension again as well. And the main thing that I recommend here is it probably is worthwhile removing it while still being connected to the rear control arm if you're replacing the control arm. Because yeah, I removed it once it was completely removed and kind of had to catch it as it was falling, which is quite hard when you're working on your own. But these are all simply things that I would do differently if I had my time over again. And hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and save yourself a little bit of time if you choose to do this install yourself. So after the install was done, I went and had a wheel alignment done, and that was all okay. And then I ended up at my mechanic for a completely different reason about a week or so later, and they checked over at the bolts and everything like that and gave me the thumbs up that everything was done correctly too, which made me extra happy. And after that, went on my first mountain drive, had a ball, and took some videos from the top. So this is what the car looks like and how it's sitting today. And I hope you enjoy the finished product. So what did you think of how the car sits? Do you think I should go a little bit lower? Leave a comment below if you think I should. That was shot about a month after the install, so the springs had definitely had a chance to settle, so that really is its true height now. I do think I want to lower the rear a little bit more and maybe a little bit in the front too, but nothing significant because, as I said, with the state of our roads at the moment and the fact that I've had nothing go wrong with the car, I'm pretty happy with the current kind of sensible ride height that I have today. But overall, if you are trying to improve cornering on your WRX, then I highly recommend this set of mods. I think you'll be very, very happy with the improvements. And from an MCA suspension perspective, well, I guess if you're looking at the kind of three main products that they have, which is the Comfort, the Sport, and the Red series of coilovers, I think the best way to think about the Reds is if you get them tuned right, you're probably getting a good combination of the kind of street performance model with a little bit more tuning to help in the comfort space, if that's what you're after. And for me, that was kind of what made that little bit of an extra investment really, really worth it. Now, one thing I always do with any parts that I remove from the car is I make sure they're looked after. So I make sure I give them a thorough clean, wrap them in plastic, and prepare them for long-term storage. That way, these parts are kept in good condition, so in the event I decide to sell the car, or if this car becomes as collectible as some people say it is, it's always nice to have all these parts to go with it in good condition. But overall, guys, I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into my coilover install. This isn't like the video that I had in mind, but I thought after kind of going through the whole experience, I'd put something together for you anyway. So hopefully you found it helpful. If you have any questions about it, leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. Otherwise, I hope this helped your coilover decision-making process, and have a good day. See you around. Cheers.